Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the Brotha from Inglewood podcast. I'm Hoopy, your host. I'm excited to bring you fresh and new content on today, and I have an exciting topic to share. But before I do, I want to ask that you would like, subscribe, share, and ring the notification button so that you'll be abreast as to when we're airing new content. Well, I was so alarmed yet enthusiastic about what I experienced the other day watching Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Fame football player, student athlete in college, and has come full circle. I mean, he has taken the mass media journalism world by storm. He starred for so many years on ESPN doing commentary, but also co-hosting one of the most notable shows as of recent. And so I kind of want to get right into it. But before I do, I want to introduce the subject today, which is probably transparency, or what is transparency as it relates to the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. So what's interesting to me is I want to discuss and share my opinion about Club Shay Shay and how Cat Williams was just there a few weeks ago, and then we experienced Monique just recently, and it's been a really hot topic, and I'm going to use a few sound bites from a familiar voice and analyst, Stephen A. Smith, and we're just kind of going to go from there.
In the comedic world yet again, and some would say it's taken an extreme turn where it's so tinged with negativity, it's made folks, particularly in the black community, uncomfortable.
Well, Stephen A. Smith is speaking about the controversial interviews that Shannon Sharpe has recently done. I don't view them as controversial in a sense to where, number one, we're on social media, we're in a digital technological world where a lot of things are highly visible. It's getting to us much faster than ever before. And like words, we can't get those words back anyway. When we say something, those words go right into the atmosphere. And even when they're hurtful, we can be apologetic, we can feel bad and awful about what we said, but we can't get those words back. And now we're in a world of surveillance. You got cameras everywhere. You would think that would curb the crime and the different things that take place, but now there's cameras everywhere. And when we talk about different things that take place in the streets, a lot of people are reluctant to do crimes or to get involved in misbehavior because of the cameras that are everywhere. And a lot of times we don't even know where these cameras are. But just kind of getting back to what we're dealing with pertaining to Shannon Sharpe and him having these guests on his show, Stephen A. is really trying to point out what is plausible versus what should just not be discussed. I'm going to let him continue, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
Now, to give you an example of the kind of thing that I'm alluding to, I want you to listen right now to Monique sitting down with Shannon Sharpe. And in this instance, talking about superstar comedic individual, Mr. Kevin Hart. Listen to this.
I said, good shit, Kevin, because we're in a deal with Endemol. And we're trying to get our talk show back. Mo, whatever it is, I got you. Now, Kevin Hart is one of the biggest entertainers right now in the world, right? And was then. We got off the phone with Kevin Hart. We called Endemol immediately and said, Kevin Hart said, whatever we want to do, he got us. He's going to partner, executive use. They was like, oh, this is incredible because when you put Kevin Hart's name on it, you already know what it is.
Correct.
2 weeks go by. We get a call from Endemol. Endemol says, we just got a call from Kevin Hart's manager, Dave Becky. And Dave Becky said, Kevin doesn't want anything to do with Monique. So whatever she told y'all, he doesn't want to do anything with her, nothing. You know, he doesn't want any kind of relationship with Monique.
So what transpired, or what do you think transpired between then, that 2 week period?
I called Kevin Hart immediately. I said, hey, baby, we just got off the phone with Endemol, and they said Dave Becky called them up and said, you don't want anything to do with me. He said, Mo, that's a miscommunication. I can tell you right now. I said, wait a minute. Are you okay, though, with this white man calling them up? Getting in between our relationship at something you say. He said, Mo, I'm guessing miscommunication, and we're going to talk Tuesday. Don't worry about it. I'm telling you right now, it's a miscommunication. That was 2 years ago. If you talk to him, I talk to him.
So, the validity of what she's saying is heavy if that took place. And I think the scrutiny is that Monique may be angry, bitter, and have, been willing to talk about it. Obviously, she hasn't been able to talk about it to Kevin Hart if he hasn't called her back or contacted her whatsoever in 2 years. That's to be determined. I'm not in a position to say that she's not telling the truth. I don't think Shannon Sharp is in a position to discredit her as well. The only thing that can be done, I don't even know if it's worth being done, is for her and Kevin Hart to sit down and have that discussion. I think this is the gray area for a lot of people. Most people are not willing to be transparent. They're not willing to be honest and open, and they're not willing to actually follow through with what they believe or what they think or even what they say. And being that I'm from a community, a tribe where we were challenged to be real. Authenticity was everything. Respect was everything. Your character was everything. And I'm not just going to go as far as saying this is what happens in the inner city. No, this is what happens when you have real parents, real grandparents, real aunts and uncles, real siblings, real community-based people that's going to hold you accountable. And this is in all facets of your life. This is what we've learned. This is what I was confronted with since I could remember. My parents didn't believe in liars. They didn't believe in cowards, people throwing rocks and hiding their hands. So that's the fabric I'm woven in. I'm from, I was born in the 60s. I was raised in the 70s. This is a different day. This is a different era. People are not true to themselves, and they're definitely not going to be true to you. So even though the playing field is in entertainment and we're dealing with mass media and we're dealing with a lot of smoke and mirrors, I still believe that there should be a level of accountability for us all. And yes, Monique has always been boisterous. She's always been, one who spoke her mind. She's always, I would say, rattled the fence. She can be intimidating to some, but I think it's most people who aren't real and aren't solid that are offended by what people say. Because if it's a lie, you can outlive a lie. If it's not true, you don't have to worry about, how it affects you, moving forward. So I just believe that there's always a code in life. I'm gonna spend another segment of this, and then we can talk about it a little bit more.
Never talk back to Kevin Hart again.
Before I go any further, that wasn't the only person she talked about. She talked about Steve Harvey. She talked about Oprah Winfrey. She talked about Tyler Perry, amongst others. And not only did she do that, she also spoke about Taraji B. Henson. Remember recently, Taraji B. Henson made news because she was tearful, talking about being underpaid as a Hollywood star, a black female actress.
Most of them are.
And she became very emotional and very transparent in her frustration and alluded to some things in regards to Oprah and others. And Monique in the past has pounced on that opportunity, and certainly she didn't hesitate to do so here.
Why is it that Monique is pouncing or taking advantage of an open window pertaining to someone's character or pertaining to something that happened to her? It's now we're able to take a closer look because Taraji mentioned a reality in her life and was very offended and emotional about it publicly. So we want to, and we should be, but we want to be sympathetic to her situation and cause. But we want to ignore Monique's grievance and cause because she's loud, she's boisterous, she'll pull you on the carpet. So now Monique is the villain, but she's been equally disrespected, lied to, castrated, and placed in a position to where Hollywood and some parts of America wants to see her like most people see Black Americans. This is really us pouncing on us. This is really urban Americans, minority, especially Afro-Americans that are pouncing on us because some of us are willing to call a spade a spade. I see the same thing happening in ministry. Most of you all know I'm an ordained elder, and I've been ministering most of my life, and I really mean that. I mean, I've been a part of this religious culture most of my life, and politics and poor behavior, bad decisions, it's there too. It's not that I'm denouncing my faith or that I'm putting Christendom and the kingdom of God on blast. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is people are people. We're human beings first. I'm a minister, but I'm a man first. I make mistakes. I've made terrible errors. I've done wrong. I've wronged people, but I've apologized. I've been man enough to go to them. Maybe I haven't gotten let's just say the forgiveness of everyone, but those that I've wronged, I've gone to. And those that I've wronged that I may not know that I've wronged, I've openly apologized to. It's like the sin of omission, the sins that we commit that we don't know about, that we're unaware of. I apologize for that. And so I just think that, we have to take a closer look. I'm going to let this play a little bit more because I want to talk a little bit more in detail.
Here is what she said alluding to Oprah Winfrey when talking about Taraji P. Henson and her dilemma. Take a look.
So when you see our sister go through that, you see her go through, and we act like our eyes didn't see what it saw when we watched that promotion happen with the color purple.
Right.
We wanted to act like we didn't see how Oprah Winfrey treated Taraji. In my humble opinion, when you saw her walk up, you saw that there was tension. You saw that there was something happening.
Right.
And then when you see Taraji write her a love letter, it's like, listen, we gotta stand tall and stand strong on what we know. We know you were mistreated. We know it wasn't right. We know it was unfair. And then you turn around and say, oh, but Lady O handled it. I have a problem with that.
Now here's the deal. Before I go...
See, this is, to me, this is authenticity. What she said is what I heard as a kid, as a child. When you're wrong, you need to say you're wrong. If you don't mean it, you need to get to a place where you learn how to mean it. But you need to apologize. You need to be detailed, because that is a part of your restoration. And I think when a lot of people just throw the word apology out there, oh, I apologize, oh, I'm sorry, that's really just being politically correct. When you really are on the road to recovery, you identify with the thing that you have done to offend someone else. Because that in-depthness will begin to filter out into your journey of recovery. And I think what's happening is, because she said the names of these heroic figures, these iconic figures in that industry, because we're talking about the world of entertainment. We're talking about the upper echelon of images and figures that we're not supposed to talk about. We're not supposed to bring them on the carpet. We're not supposed to say, oh, you're wrong because of your success or your status. Well, I think, number one, that's idolatry. We're idolizing people and we're putting them above humanity. And we're saying either we think of them in such a way to where we don't want to offend them or disrespect them, or it's our own personal ambition. We have aspirations of getting to the door and over the threshold, and they're the ones that's standing in the way. They're gatekeepers. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of figures in many facets of life. I've been in the streets. I've been around the undesirables. I've been around those that will harm you and hurt you. I've been around, some of the rich and famous. I've been around, human, hardworking Americans who have done it, the honest way. I've been around educated people who have achieved scholastic levels and plateaus. Listen, I've been exposed to a lot in my soon to be 57 years of living. And I don't put anyone above anyone, because we all human. We all have to go to the restroom and refresh ourselves. We all have to shower and bathe and clean ourselves. We all have to brush our teeth, and we all get sick, under the weather. We're all prone to the same things because we're human beings. And so I don't believe in boosting one over the other because of their financial position. Most people are so synthetic, they're so shallow to where they will gravitate to you because of what you have and what you do or what your image is, more so than the kind of person you are. I don't get down like that. I may not have what the world has. I may not achieve what most people have achieved. I may not have all those material, conveniences, but I'm comfortable with the mirrors in my house. I got a lot of mirrors in my house. I walk by them every day. I don't have any regrets as to who I am as a person. I don't duck and dodge anyone. My palms don't get sweaty when I see someone that I've wronged or I'm not embarrassed. I don't live like that. I have peace. I may not have a whole lot, but I have peace and a peace of mind. I walk with my head up. And so this really, and I think I'm getting passionate about it because this is what society and the systemic aspect of how we live has changed the mentality of human beings, all ethnicities. But I like to speak about my own people simply because this is who I'm around. This is what I had to develop with and who I've struggled with. And this is what I see. I'm gonna play a little bit more and we'll talk a little bit more.
A break. Let me say something. This is not a comfortable conversation for me.
Yeah, right.
In the interest of full disclosure, Cat Williams has always been cool with me. Always been a gentleman when I've met him. Steve Harvey is a friend and a brother. Kevin Hart is a friend and a brother. I don't know Cedric the Entertainer that well, but I've known him well enough where I've interviewed him several times over the years and we are very friendly with one another. I once had the pleasure of being interviewed on Monique's show when she had her own show, Monique, on BET when I was a guest there many years ago. And I've been a long time admirer of her work, her artistry. She is a brilliant talent, both comedically and just overall as an actress. She is spectacular. And what has happened to her, or what appears to have happened to her, what she believes has happened to her, in terms of being blackballed, in terms of being pigeonholed and marginalized, it's not comfortable to hear, it's not comfortable to watch. I don't like it at all. I root for her. But the first...
Listen. First of all, Stephen A., you know some of the things that happened to her. I understand a lot of people are not going to always like you. You're going to have personality conflict. You might even have ways that we don't like. And I get that. I understand that. And maybe some things has disallowed her, Monique in particular, from crossing over into better situations. Okay. We have to take accountability for ourselves. But that does not take away from being wronged or earning something that you rightfully deserved and having those things taken away from you because the status quo or maybe someone who had the power steps in and says, no, I don't want that. Okay, I get that. That's their prerogative. If you're the owner, if you have the rights to something, if it's your show, if it's your car, if it's your, material thing, whatever. If you're the owner and you decide you don't want certain things, hey, I respect that. It still doesn't take away from a person being wronged And I think, you know, Stephen A is sort of supporting, or maybe he's showing loyalty to his friends. These are his friends. He's okay with being friends with them. But when you look at Monique's experience and Cat Williams' experience with them, those same people who you're claiming as your friends, you're not willing to speak on that. You're not willing to say, well, if that took place, Steve is wrong, Kevin is wrong, Smiley is wrong, Oprah is wrong. I just think that there is a two-edged sword in all walks of life. What goes up comes down. My grandmother used to tell me, you know, don't worry about people talking. Worry when they stop talking. That's when you have to worry. And I didn't get that as a kid, as a teenager. I didn't understand what that wisdom was. But I totally understand that today. And I've tried to convey that to my own children, especially my boys. Because boys are looked upon as men regardless to what age they are. And so most of the time they're entering into a culture, into a climate that they know not of. And it's up to us as men, as fathers, to enlighten our young people and help them develop. So he's going to get into this one thing, and then I'm gonna close off the sound bites. But he's going to mention something that I can also speak to that's very clear to me.
Order of business that I'm going to do before I get in to the specifics of everything that they've had to say is I'm going to say this. It's become problematic. And somebody has to say it, so I'm going to say it. It's become problematic for black people. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. It's starting to look really, really bad. And some would say, Stephen A., what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean start? We've been making ourselves look bad for quite some time.
I agree.
Now, for those athletes out there, former athletes, you know, because the people that tried to look at me and would sit up there and would say, Stephen A., you know, sell it out, sell out.
Well, Stephen A., first of all, you know the great lengths you had to go to become the black journalist that you are today. We know that you're educated. We know that you're a highly intellectual man. We also know that you're not the boss, that you're hired to work for a network and do a job that they see fit. We know that you're not the owner of your total script. We also know and understand that you are a part of ESPN's success because you're able to sit down with notable student athletes, professional athletes, and get interviews, get information that a lot of persons in those networks aren't able to get unless they have the right amount of money. Okay, with that being said, I applaud you for being able to sit down with our community and get information for the public. However, I've scrutinized Stephen A. Smith many times based on saying things about athletes that will hinder their potential to earn. I've heard him say certain ones wasn't worth the contract. They're asking for money that they don't deserve. He's breaking down their career, their production, and because of his influence and because of his media expertise, those general managers, those owners, they watch sports shows just like we do. And so that can alter negotiations because they're bringing in material that will argue on their behalf. And he mentions black on black crime. Well, no, it's not a crime. You didn't break the law, but you opened up an avenue for someone else to pursue the demise of someone's livelihood. This is documented. I'm not making this up. I'm a sports guy. I went to school for journalism, so I'm sort of partial to mass media and communications and things of that nature. So these are things that I just scroll and I listen to quite a few people, all ethnicities, because I'm constantly trying to learn too. So let's keep it 100.
Can't stand his ass, blah, 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 blah. Bump them. They full of it.
They're full of it.
You were performing on a court or the field of play. I called you out for your performance, and that was that. That wasn't black on black crime.
It was in a sense to where you're hindering these guys' potential to earn. You've done more than just talked about their statistics. You mentioned their salaries. You mentioned their contracts. You mentioned their ability to take care of their families. You brought up money. Not in this sequence, because I would have to just go back and research some of your shows and some of your time that you spent on ESPN, and we can bring those things to light. Now, am I jumping on Stephen A? No, I'm not jumping on Stephen A. I'm just saying what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. And this is the whole thing that I believe Monique is talking about. She's talking about, let's be real. Let's have a moment of truth. Let's talk about this thing. Why did you do what you did? When you did what you did? Why are you hiding behind the buffers who work for you as managers or PR people or whomever, when you can sit down with one another and have a conversation? See, that's my issue. And it doesn't just happen in business. It's not just in entertainment. This happens in everyday life. This happens in families, with siblings. I've experienced and yet experienced things with my own siblings. And it's not anything new, but we need to correct it. We need to sit down and deal with it, and I think a lot of people, they don't want to deal with it. They're comfortable with the way things are. They're comfortable running and hiding and lying and sharing their rendition of what happened. And I think Monique, if she wasn't allowed to talk about her truth and her experience, she would have never been on that show. If Shannon Sharp had an issue with the questions he prepared, he's reading questions, she's answering and elaborating on them. Why you mad at her? Why you mad at him? It's his show. 68 million plus viewers watched Cat Williams. Over 5 million has watched Monique in the past 48 hours. It's climbing. I don't know what the number is now, but I'm going to play another segment.
If you are a player and you're getting your ass kicked by somebody who's dropping 40 or 50 on you, and I call it out, and that person happens to be black, how am I knocking down my community because I point out the fact that you put your talents on public display, is getting your ass kicked? It's my obligation to point out that you're getting your ass kicked, and that's all that happened. That ain't selling out. That's covering sports. And you happen to be somebody who's chosen to participate in sports in a public forum who didn't live up to what people's expectations were.
Wow.
And we talking somebody, it could be Kwame Brown, it could be T.O., it could be somebody. I talk sports. I didn't get into anybody's personal life, characterizing and castigating anybody. That's not selling out. That's doing my job of covering sports.
Watch this. Watch this.
It's not Monique's job to do what she's just done, what she just did.
Really? Really?
It wasn't Cat Williams' job to do.
Why not? Why isn't it okay for Cat Williams to talk about his relationships, his business relationships, and what took place between him and the people that were in his life? What's the difference with Monique talking about fresh issues that obviously people didn't know about, or let's just say the public didn't know about? So now she and Cat Williams are the bad guys. Now, I'm a strong believer in this. We don't do no snitching. We don't tell on anybody and cause their demise. Snitching usually results in people being incarcerated. Okay? I understand the code of the streets. You're not considered a snitch unless you told on someone and caused them to go to prison or jail. And it's documented that you and your testimony closed the deal on someone else's life. Okay. Snitching is also equivalent to getting someone in trouble. If you tell on someone and they get in trouble, you're a known snitch. Now, at first when I was listening to Monique, I said, wow, she might be bitter, she might be mad, she might be upset. She sounds like she's snitching. And then as I started to revisit the interview, I don't think that she was snitching. I think that she was saying, I've been saying this from day one. I'm just reiterating that there are some bad people and some bad behavior in this industry. Now, I don't know what's going on with her and her personal life, with her children and grandchildren. D.L. Hughley spoke and mentioned to that. D.L. Hughley was very adamant about Monique not telling the truth about an ordeal that he and her was involved in. Okay, I can dig that. He had a lot of validity in the things that he was saying. But how will we really know except those two get together and talk with each other in front of the public? Some of these things we'll never know until it becomes public information. So I'm aware that people lie. I'm aware that people, withhold information. I'm totally aware of that. I'm not trying to say that, he's right, she's wrong. I'm saying we need to create some dialogue. We need to talk. We need to make these things make sense. Not for our approval. You don't have to get my approval on anything. I'm just saying, in real relationships, if you care, if you're concerned enough, why you can't talk about it? Why you can't just disagree and not be disagreeable? But see, it's more convenient for most people to leave situations undone and move away, or never cross paths or hope to cross paths with a person. That's easier than going to that person and just saying, hey, this is how it is. This is how it was. I don't agree, but I'm not going to be disagreeable. Every time I see you, I'm not going to cross the street. I'm not going to leave the restaurant. I'm not going to not go because you're there. To me, that's a coward. And I understand about getting out of harm's way. No one wants to get hurt. But if a person is not trying to destroy you and hurt you and harm you, or you're not in fear of your life, why are you going to a different convenience store because you find out that person is in there? No, it's something about you not wanting to face that reality, regardless to who was right or wrong. I'm not changing my path. I'm not driving down a different street. I'm not gonna not go to a function because somebody is there that I may not like. I'm not doing that. If you don't like me, or if you don't have anything to say to me, hey, that's fine. Just don't put your hands on me and we won't have no problem. Just don't say nothing disrespectful to me and it won't be no issue. That's how I am. And so I just feel like, just like in the streets, there's a code. If you don't respect that code, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have some real consequences. And your allies are probably not going to want to stand with you if you're out of bounds. If that real camaraderie is going to say, no, man, we going to go there and we going to talk this through. And if y'all got to throw hands, that's what y'all need to do. But we're not going to go into a full-fledged war because someone said something about you. No, we going to handle that. So let me get into this last segment, and I'm going to try to close out.
What he did on Club Shay Shay weeks ago, that now has over 68 million views, by the way.
Social media.
It wasn't their job to call out Kevin Hart and Steve Harvey.
Why?
Cedric the Entertainer, Ricky Smiley.
Really?
Michael Blackson, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry. It wasn't their job. That was a choice.
Okay.
A choice that extended far beyond the corridors of their job. That now has Black America taking sides.
Wrong is wrong.
And looking at one another with an elevated level of skepticism and disgust, while having others outside of our community look at us that way as well.
They do that anyway.
And that's a subject that we're going to tackle on the Stephen A. Smith Show today. We're not running from this. We're going to talk about it. Whether it's Monique, it's Cat Williams, or even if it's my brother, Shannon Sharp, for Club Shay Shay. I got a lot to say. A whole lot. It's about time that it gets addressed in a manner that it deserves. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube. As promised, it's time to tackle a subject that I will openly confess I'm not very comfortable tackling.
Why not?
Because I understand where people are coming from, and I don't want to give any extra shine to whatever perspective they have on Mr. Shannon Sharp himself, but I have no choice.
I applaud
Now, some
Shannon.
people would ask the question, why is that? He's a grown-ass man, so are you. He's doing his thing, you're doing your thing. I want to remind you that Shannon Sharp is a major, major contributor to my day job.
You know, I applaud Shannon Sharp. Stephen A. Smith mentions who's qualified to talk about who. Now, what is that criteria? They're all in entertainment. They've all crossed paths. They've all worked together in some capacity. They all had some form of relationship. Now, are you speaking to the fact that you feel both Cat Williams and Monique betrayed the trust and relationship by coming forth and making it public? Is that what you're referring to? Because we already know Oprah doesn't have to address any of the rhetoric and the conversations that has transpired after both have gone on Club Shay Shay. We already know she's 3 or 4 billion strong, and her accomplishments and achievements are documented, well documented. So we understand that this is nothing that will affect Oprah in any kind of way. People already have their perception of Oprah Winfrey. Same thing with Tyler Perry. We know that he is a multiple talented creator. We know that he has made extreme progress in the world of entertainment. This isn't his first confrontation and scandal, so to speak. So they have the money, they have the position, they have the political power, they have the resources to not really be touched by these two podcast shows. But it still does not take away the fact that they're human and they made human error. Allegedly. I wasn't there. I don't know. I'm just voicing my humble opinion as it relates to what I feel relationships should consist of. And I think without all of the content and the so-called details, I still believe that respect, honesty, or sincerity is needed for any healthy relationship. Whether it's a mother and a child, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a business colleague, a supervisor, does not matter. I think Stephen A. Smith mentions Chris Spencer, who made a very sound and fundamental statement on his social media platform when he said that, or he raised the question, why do we, meaning urban Afro-Americans, attack or do one another the way we do? Why do we do this? That was a loaded question. And help me, let me help you understand. I've known Chris Spencer since childhood. We were literally getting out of the sandbox together. I know him, I know his character, I know his personality. I know he's a great person. He's a good guy. I know that he stays neutral in a lot of aspects of relationships because he sees the common good in everyone. And so for him to say that lets me know that that bothered him, because he don't normally get into any controversy. He's not that person that you don't get along with. He's not that kind of person. So when I saw him make that statement as well, I knew it was coming from a wholesome place. It was coming from a real place. He didn't say it to be to marginalize, anybody, he was just stating a clear thought that to me was valid. And so when Stephen A. mentioned it, it was powerful that he would allude to Chris's statement in this context, because I agree, he's right. We have come after each other often, early and often, and it ain't cool. It's just not cool. And I'm not here today to pounce on Oprah Winfrey. I don't know Oprah, never met her. I don't know Cat Williams. I don't know Monique. I don't know Shannon Sharp. I don't know Smiley. I don't know Sid the Entertainer. I don't know Steve Harvey. I don't know none of these people. I do know Chris Spencer, and he's not the person that we're discussing. I just want to make that clear. I'm not attacking my friend whatsoever. I'm just using a statement that Stephen A. mentioned on his platform yesterday. But the summation of this podcast would be: transparency is a must. Do you owe anyone an explanation? I don't think you owe anyone an explanation outside of who was affected by whatever it is you did or whatever it is you said. I just believe that right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you offended someone, you should be willing to apologize. I believe that that's the bottom line. And it's obvious. Cat Williams, he's offended. I can even see the hurt in his eyes. I think when you listen to Cat Williams over the years, as talented as he is, a lot of things that he says are coming from a really deep place. It's coming, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze him. I don't have a background in psychology. I'm not a clinical psychologist or anything like that. I'm not trying to put him on the couch and diagnose him. I'm just saying, as a father, as a man, as a spiritual leader, I can tell when someone is hurt. That brother is hurt. Monique is hurt. And if these things are true, rightfully be so. Because if it was you and I, we'd be hurt too. And I just want to say thanks for, sharing with us on today and listening. And please, again, put something in the comment section. Let's talk about this. How can we make relationships better? How can we be true to ourselves and be a better person to others? We're supposed to teach our kids to love one another, to be honest. We want our kids to be honest with us. We want our kids to do the right thing, but then we as adults, we do the opposite. We do what we want to do. We even tell our kids, don't do what I do as I say. And I just think that we have to be accountable full circle. And this is why a lot of our romantic relationships don't work. That's why black love is so scarce. And we have all these things tucked away inside of us. We're fighting all these different emotions and feelings. And it's being projected on innocent people. We make others collateral damage because of the toxicity and the issues that we have inside, and it comes out all at the wrong time, because what's in you is going to come out of you. And I've learned this over the years, that you have to do self-inventory. You have to be willing to apologize. Like my former pastor would say many years ago, don't be too big where you can't be small. And don't be so small where you think you're too big. That's what the late Dr. Shoemate used to teach when I was a child, and soon teenager, and soon became a man. That was one of his mantras. And I took heed to that, and I apply that every day. In so many words, what he was saying was, be humble, walk in humility. That's humanity. That's your reasonable service. So, like, subscribe, share, ring the notification button. Thank you for sitting through this podcast and sharing your comments about this segment. We'll be back really soon. We do intend to be more consistent by sharing content on Tuesdays and Fridays. I like to do them on Thursdays as well, but look for us. Please subscribe. Let someone know that we're on and we're trying to make a difference by creating dialogue. Take care. Peace.
Coming in from Inglewood.